Well, at least it's not Saturday night. We had a Saturday night service last night, and the people were great, but it was Saturday night, and it was like rainy and unseasonably cold, and then it's Saturday night. So you think about like 2,000 years ago, how it would feel if your best friend or your teacher, your son, he was dead. And the grief was like too real on that Saturday night to even talk about it yet. Like, what happened yesterday? Like they had to have this feeling, but they couldn't even express it. This fear, this pain, this doubt. Some of us know it, this sorrow. And I was trying to meet those people last night where they were, and I just couldn't. I couldn't be sad. Because the night before, I'd watched Mighty Ducks. I did. The NHL playoffs are started, and so my kids got to pick a movie, and I kind of forced them to pick Mighty Ducks. They'd never seen it. I'd seen it 400 times. And so we turned it on, and my kids are heartbroken when the Ducks lose to the Hawks, and then they lose to the Cardinals, and their uniforms aren't right, and then Coach Gordon Bombay quits for a while, and then is he going to come back or not? And I had to fake this tension along with them, but the whole time I was like, I knew the Ducks were going to fly together. I knew they're going to quack their way to a Pee Wee championship. I knew they were going to hit that last shot right before overtime, and they were going to win, and it was going to be glorious. I'd seen the movie. That's why I'm glad it's not Saturday night. Because in the redemptive historical place where we've been put, we get to see around the corner and always have done. And around the corner, we get to see that the stone is gone. And the body is too. Like, they haven't found Jesus' body. They looked for it. You're like, why didn't they think of just getting Jesus' body? That would have just ended the whole thing. They tried it. It was gone. And if you can't find the body, you know what the next best thing would have done? They said there was nothing ordinary about Jesus' appearance. You just find some other ordinary corpse and you just parade it through the streets. Why didn't they do that? Because he was around the corner having a fish fry. Like, Jesus might have shown up to his own funeral had they done that. So they just had to sit there and wait. I can hear it on my wife's lips. She said it to all of our kids probably 1,000 times over. She'll check them into daycare or Kid Crest or wherever, and we have to leave our kids temporarily. She always says this thing. She says, hey, we'll be back. Mommy always comes back. I will always come back for you. Isn't it great that our heavenly parent says the same? I will come back. And then when Jesus comes, he dies. You're like, oh, it's over. Saturday night, it's raining. And then Sunday, the sun comes. And the sun comes out of tomb. I am back. And then he ascends and he leaves. And it's like, oh, no, he's gone again. It's like, well, he's already come back before. We know he's coming back again. Where is he? He's going to prepare a place for us. We can see around that corner today. And how I want to spend some of our time as we glance around the corner is in the book of Acts. Our church has been in the book of Acts for a long time. We're probably going to be in the book of Acts for a long time after this. And some of you are like, man, I just came as a guest. Why are they talking about the book of Acts? Well, because. And next week, we're going to do the same part of Acts 9. We're going to pick up right here, but we're also going to do a recap of where we've been. So if you're like, hey, maybe I want to jump on the train, but I feel behind, we're going to catch you up next week. Is anyone coming next week? Raise your hand if you're coming next week. Okay, look at those people. Some of them are weird. Don't look at the weird ones. Look at the ones that you really want to be like. It can't be that bad. They're coming back, okay? And so you can come back. We'll get you all caught up. It'll be great. But here's where Acts 9. This is where we're at, and this is where we're going to stay here for a second. Acts 9, 1 through 5 reads this way. Meanwhile, Saul. Now, Saul's name is about to change. It's going to change to Paul. So while I'm talking, sometimes I'll say Saul, sometimes I'll say Paul, same dude, okay? Meanwhile, Saul was still breathing murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. He went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any there who belonged to the way. Now, this is early Christianity. They hadn't named it yet. It wasn't named Christianity. They're just calling it the way, which sounds way awesome, like way more awesome than Christianity. It also kind of sounds like a cult. So that's why they changed it. It's like, are you a member of the way? Can you take me to the All-Mother? Like, we got to change names. We need to make this Christianity. So he wants to go and he wants to get Christians. He wants to find them. And he says, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. As he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice say to him, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? I love this. He answers, who are you, Lord? Great light starts talking to you, just assume it's lordship, all right? It's in charge, you're not. And that's what he does. Who are you, Lord? And he says, I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. The light replied. So, recap. There's a guy named Jesus. He comes, he lives on the earth for a bit, then they kill him, then he rises, then he leaves, but before he leaves, he gets his followers initiated to start this new thing called the way, start this Christianity. And this guy hates Jesus. hates Jesus' followers because they're coming after his stuff. And so he's going to shut this thing down. So he's on the road to shut this thing down, sees a great light, and everything changes. And we think about that, and it's like, well, that's sort of what Easter is, right? I mean, we got the biggest crowd of the year. We had a couple hundred in here last night. If we went to every church in town and asked them, how'd it go for Easter? What were your numbers like? Every church is going to be like, we're up. You're not doing church very well if you're down on Easter. Everyone's up on Easter. And so here's the church mentalities. We got to get a bunch of people in. They're going to bring their guests. They're going to bring their parents. They're going to bring their kids. We got to get them in here, and we got to make sure they know they're good and lost. And then we got to get them everything, Christianity 101, all the doctrine. We got to explain it all, get them good and lost, get them good and found, all before the ham is ready. That's how we have to do it. And this great light that we're trying to share becomes like this strobe light that's really just kind of disorienting. Like there's this one church that I heard about in the South a couple decades ago. They had it like this. They would do a pageant. They would put all their resources into this pageant, and they would practice this pageant all year. Everything they did went into this pageant. It was a huge deal. They put all their Easter eggs in that one basket, and they'd have thousands of people come. They'd do a Friday show, and then they'd do 2 Saturday ones, and then Sunday, that was the one. I mean, it was in this big outdoor park arena, and people would come just by the hundreds come, and thousands of people sitting there watching this pageant. And then right after it ended, that Easter matinee, the pastor would get up there on stage. Who wants to follow Jesus? And it was like this mic drop. People would just come up. It was incredible. And so this year they're doing it. They're doing their big Easter thing, and they're just crushing it. Jesus is healing lepers like you read about. He's flipping tables left, flipping them right. He's walking on water. Also, he's hot. Like, it's weird to cast Jesus, but like you don't know if you just want a regular guy. They got the most handsome guy in town. He's just this beautiful man, Chippendale Jesus. He's got abs on abs. He's like on the Alpha and Omega diet. Here's the only unbelievable part of the pageant. Like everything just feels veracity. It just feels like truth, except for this one part. There's a part in the Bible where Jesus can't carry his cross up the hill because he's been beaten, he's tired, and he's weak. And then you get this guy lumbering up. He's like, I cannot carry my cross. And his pecs are like rippling. You're like, shut up, hunk. You can carry that cross. Come on, Hans. You can curl that cross. Give me a break. Well, they get him arrested. They get him beaten. They do all that. They get that big old boy up on the cross. And the crowd's just eating it up. They're eating popcorn. They're crying big tears. And the guards were doing their thing. The beautiful thing about this pageant, everything was like, it was all just like based on reality. Like the cross was like the cross would have been. Their garb was like the garb would have been. Their props, they weren't even props. They're like real things, like real swords, real spears, all the stuff. So the guards are doing their thing. They're getting this guy up on the cross. They're doing it all. And then they get off the stage, and then Jesus says some stuff. He says this, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And the crowd is just like gasping. What a beautiful sentiment. And he says, my God, why have you forsaken me? Then he talks to the thief on the cross, and he says, hey, you're going to be with me today based on your belief in paradise. And then Jesus breathes his last, dies. And that's the guard's cue to come back on, because they're supposed to come back on. There's part in the Bible where then they pierce Jesus in the side. And so they pierced Jesus in the side. What's beautiful about this is they had this awesome collapsible sword, so it looked real. What isn't beautiful about this is in their giddiness, because it's the last performance. They're excited. They're going to have a steak dinner after. They don't do any more pageant stuff for a year. Well, in that hubbub, they forgot to switch the collapsible sword for the real sword. And so when they pierce hot Jesus' side, it's supposed to be a collapsible, not real. They actually really pierce his side a bit. And so Jesus is dead on the cross. They pierce his side. He comes back to life. He starts spouting, my God, why have you forsaken me, without the why have you forsaken me part. He's yelling up there, dog cussing the Roman guards. They don't know what to do. He's bleeding. The crowd just eating popcorn. They don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, they back an ambulance up, beep, 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 to the stage. And in his writhing pain, they had tied him to the cross. The knots had all gotten tighter. And so they take the whole cross. I was like, are they going to strap him to the top? No, they just like put him cross and all into the ambulance. It drives off to First Mercy Hospital. But the show must go on. They have an understudy. Of course they do. This is a professional endeavor. They have understudy Jesus, and understudy Jesus is incredible. I mean, he resurrects just fine. And he was Shakespearean when he meets the women at the tomb. And then he goes and he sees the followers, and he's just like, he's nailing all the lines. He crushes it. One hitch was he wasn't hot. Like that other guy, you just like picture me and picture the opposite. This guy, you just picture me, it's me. It's just this scrawny dude doing his lines, it's fine. But he's awesome, great actor. And then it's time to ascend to heaven. This is the big moment. Okay, so what he's going to do is he's strapped to a belt, that's strapped to a cord that's going to take him to the heavens. He's going to say, go therefore into all the nations. And then the orchestra is going to swell, and he's going to gently rise to the heavens. It's just a beautiful moment. It's the one they've been, the aha moment of the whole thing. And this is where we get our second hitch. See, hot Jesus, who had gotten pierced in the side, weighed about 250. Understudy Jesus was $150 post-baptism. I mean, soaking wet. That's what that guy weighed. And the little thing that was going to lift him up was based on a counter pulley weight system, which was set for 250. No one changed it. Some people were laughing. It wasn't funny for this guy because they hit the button and it wasn't a gentle rise. It was like a Blue Origin flight to the heavens. Only the heavens was a crossbeam. He hits the crossbeam. He's concussed. He's like a marionette, lifeless. Just they lower him. The ambulance had just gotten back. And they back it up, beep, 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 beep. They put him in the ambulance. They drive him to First Mercy. He and hot Jesus are sharing Jell-O in the hospital room. And then the pastor gets up there, dewy-eyed. Who wants to follow Jesus? Not many takers that year. And in the fervor of Easter, we can be pretty confusing. That in our efforts to shine a great light, we can actually blind people to the truth. And here's what I'll say that maybe is a little offensive to some of you who've been in church a long time. Here it is. Easter is not some great light moment. There is no great light moment of arrival. That's why so many folks will come to church on Easter, but I won't see them next week. Each year we come up here, well, when you see the great light, it doesn't happen, we'll try again next year. When you see the great light, it doesn't happen, we try. It's great that we yearn for this great light, but the reason we aren't getting the great light is because it doesn't work that way. You're like, wait, you just read Acts 9. There's a great light. Paul's walking on the road, he sees a great light. Yes, that was a moment of light, but what it was is a moment of light breaking through, but it was not a standalone finale. You think about pre-great light and post-great light. How about pre-great light? Prior to chapter 9. Do you know this about Paul? He's memorized the Old Testament. He had it memorized. It wasn't the Old Testament then because there was no New Testament yet. It was just the book, their law. He had 39 books in our Bible. For them, it was like 20. But he had it all memorized, every single word of it he knew, which meant this. He knew about a God who had love and care for his children. He knew about a God of power who says, let there be light, and there is light. He knew about a God who creates. He knew about a God who goes to a person and says, I am your God, you are my people, and I'm going to make a family out of you that's going to outnumber the stars. He knew about a God who sees a bunch of people in captivity and says, I'm not going to stand for that. Let my people go, and parts the Red Sea, and they walk through to a promised land. He knew about a God who's long-suffering with his friends and long-suffering with his enemies. He knows about a God who makes promises, one who writes checks that actually cash. And then his job vocationally was to go and arrest Christians and persecute them. So what does he get to see day in and day out? He gets to see this, how Christians suffer. Did it look different? And then right before this great light moment, you know what happens? A Christian is getting killed. It's the first one that we know of who's getting killed. They're throwing rocks at this man until he is dead. And Paul is standing there holding the coats because I guess he doesn't have a fastball. But he's standing there where this guy is. And you know what this guy does? As he's having rocks hurled at his face until death, he doesn't curse these men. He doesn't yell at them. He doesn't berate them. He prays for them. And a paraphrase of what he prays as he's dying. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Here's a quick study. So that's what Jesus said on the cross. And that's what Paul receives. He receives from this guy in his dying breath forgiveness. He receives from this guy love. See, there isn't just a great light. There are shimmers and glimmers and flashes all along the way. It's like the teacher who was kind to you when you really needed kindness. Your world was rocked and you're this elementary school kid and your parents are going through a thing and you're confused and this one teacher is just so kind to you day after day after day and you realize the kindness is because she loves God. Or it's that grandmother, the beloved grandmother who has that hymn on her lips because he lives as she makes a decadent meal for her family to enjoy. The most virtuous person you ever knew. It's because of the love of Jesus. It's in the sunsets where you watch the sunset, and some of you know who to say it to, some of you don't, but you see this beautiful sunset, and you have this feeling in your heart that I need to say thank you to someone. It's the cadence of the waves that lull you to sleep. It's the gentle snow that makes everything quiet to a point where you can think. This solitude comes in that's wonderful. It's the wonder of spring that does the opposite, the bursting to life and life and life, light and light and light. You felt it. We've all felt it. And you know how I know you have felt that light, that hint of it? You're here today. Like, man, I just got dragged here. My parents dragged me. My aunt dragged me. Someone else dragged me. It's like, yeah, that's what you think because you haven't seen the light yet. You haven't realized it. They're just the person. They're like the messenger. They're the middleman in this transaction. You got dragged here, yeah, but it was the God of the ages who wants to know you, who dragged you. I think of it like a lock. You get to a locker and you can never get your locker open when you're in junior high. It's like that combination lock. You got to get all three numbers. And when the first two numbers hit, nothing happens. It's the last numbers. It's like the great light where the tumbler opens and the lock falls open. There's guys with Paul who see the same great light and nothing happens. They see a great light and they don't know what to do with it and they just keep on their merry way. See, when the lock opens, you don't get that door open and then walk away. That door opens and you enter. And we see that with Paul. That it wasn't Paul sees a great light and it became beam me up, Scotty, to heaven. He didn't get launched like that guy, Blue Origin. He didn't get flighted to the heavenlies. No, the light shines on. This is how verse 6 reads. So, verse 5, who are you, Lord? Saul asked, I'm Jesus, whom you are persecuting. And then verse 6, now get up, go into the city, and you'll be told what you must do. The light wasn't the beginning, nor was it the end. Faith, Easter, isn't a line that we cross. It's a path that we walk. Paul was called to the city, and he's going to be called to many other things. But he was called to the city, and he was met by the church there to join in the body, to join in the mission, to join into the community. That Easter happened in his life, and then you know what happened the next week? Easter. And the next week, and the next week, and the next week just kept happening. Paul was brought into the church to be a part of that and to work out his salvation with carefulness in community, from light to light progressively. And once he got in the church with those people, you know what he saw? He saw squabbles and debates and friendships and forgiveness and reconciliation and adventures and love and love and love. He says to one group that he was persecuting. He wanted to kill these people one moment, and the next moment, you know what he says to them? He writes them a letter and he says, I have you with me in my heart. I carry you with me everywhere I go. They become family. Faith isn't Easter. It's Easter again. It's love again, over and over. The Easter, what it really is this great invite to recognize the light and then to continue on in it, light to light. It's not a text message you get that changes everything. Rather, it's a phone call that turns into a conversation that leads to a meetup that begins a relationship that formulates a love. It's not flowers and processionals and Wagner's wedding march, but a westward leading, still proceeding march of marriage. It's not just what happens on the Saturday. It's waking up on the Sunday with I do still on your lips. This mutual, perpetual, cosmic I do said from creator to created and created to creator forever. It's Easter weekend. And we lean into it and everything is on the line. We have one chance, one opportunity. It's one great light. We have to have an absolute belief in everything. It's now or never. Maybe. The world can be dangerous. And for some here, this might be our last Easter. This could be the last gospel light that shines into our life. More likely, we'll be back here next week. And it will be just as much Easter because Jesus is just as much alive. But the question of Easter is not if Jesus is alive. That's always what we make it. Here's 10 proofs that he's alive. It's not if Jesus is alive, it's if you are. I love this thing in the Bible that happens where Jesus is healing people, and he does this. He does that a few times. But he'll go to someone who's like lame, they haven't walked in like 38 years, and it's like, do you want to be well? I'll go to someone sick and say, do you want to be healed? He'll go to someone who's blind and say, do you want to see? Do you? Jesus came into the world as light, unhidden for those who want to see, those who will seek, those weary who want rest. He says to me, are you weary? Are you burdened? Some of you are so weary and so burdened, you can't even raise your hand. And he says, great, come to me. That's who I want. And then he says, I will give you rest. We're like, yes, a heavenly hammock. I've always wanted a heavenly hammock. And then he goes on, he says, take my yoke upon you. A yoke is an instrument for work. So yes, you're going to rest, but out of that rest, you will work. And it's a good work. That my yoke is light, my burden too. It's easy because I will be walking alongside you. Basically, we could paraphrase that like, you tired? Come to me, and then let's go. I will heal you. I will make you well. And out of that, oh, you're lame, you're on the ground, you get up. Now you don't get up to lie back down. You get up to walk. You don't get your vision and then keep your eyes. You see that light. Paul writes all kinds of stuff in the Bible after this sort of conversion moment. One of the things he writes is in 2 Corinthians 5, verses 20 and 21 say, "We are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us." Like, man, God's never made an appeal to me. Spoiler, he's doing it right now. He's appealing to you right now. He's making his appeal through us. "We implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God." And then he says this, "God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God." That's the great trade. That Jesus became dark so that we could become light. He became wrong so we could become right. He became death so that we could become life. It's the great trade of light upon light, and it's offered, and it's a special sale today, free. But what the offer is not for some metaphysical moment. It's for a life. You're offered a life in this, and week in and week out, as unfading as the light that has come before and that comes after, all the lights that we can now see, here's what we do together. We grapple, and we hope, and we reason, and we love, and we change, and we unite, and we eat, and we pray, and we sing, and we cry, and we laugh, and we Easter our way along. Here's how it works. We family towards faith. Real people on a real journey. I remember getting to family towards faith. It's an experience that has always stayed with me. I don't know why. It's a tiny, minuscule experience in my life. But my sister and I, little sister, we were maybe ages 8 and 4, something like that. Who knows? But we were little, and we went wandering off, and we went beyond the boundaries we were supposed to go. And beyond those boundaries, we found splendor. What we found was a pond. And to a little kid, a pond is a sacred thing. A secret pond, even better. We played in the mud, and we collected cool sticks, and we found lily pads. I thought lily pads were only for stories. I thought it was made up. I thought those were fictional, but we took them in our hands like floppy pancakes and tossed them back into the pond, and we played the day away, laughing and cackling, joy, joy, joy. And then it started getting dark. The sun that had led us there started to depart. The light was fading, and with the fading light came dog's brain. We could hear dogs in the distance, but they were echoing, and it felt like they were coming ever closer. And again, we're kids. You're in a well-lit room as an adult. It's not scary to you at all, but as a kid, you can think of the pitter-patter of our hearts. And we ran off madly in all directions, into thistles, into thorns, into trees, scratched up, scared, tear-streaked, sorrow. And then we realized the light that is fading is the thing that led us here. So if we walk opposite to where it's fading, maybe we'll find a greater light still. And that's what we did. We took off walking, and we crested a hill, and then there in the valley, home. And we could see it as the darkness entered. There's the glow of the windows beckoning to us. And we entered into that home, and I'm sure there my mom had snacks for us, probably popcorns with apple slices hidden in there. She would smuggle nutrition in to trick us or something. And we would eat, and we played, and we laughed, and the joy went on. And you know what we didn't do? We didn't turn out the lights. The lights stayed on. And that's the invite today, whether for the first time or the 500th or the 5,000. The invite is that we could see the light, the hope of Jesus, the light of life that's in him. And here's the other invite, that we could become brothers and sisters. As my sister and I walking, heading home together, and that's what we get to do. That we get to head home, journey towards faith together as family. Here's the thing, too. Someone gave me a hug earlier. A friend over here gave me a hug, and I make it awkward because I hate hugging. Like, I'm not a touchy-feely person. I'm like weird about that. I'm like not good at it. But I remember that time with my sister, we were walking through the woods, and no one even had to say a word. We were hand in hand. We were together. We were united. Not perfectly, not clearly, maybe not even completely yet, but we can be hand in hand. And that's the invite of Easter. The invite is that you're invited to Easter on, to journey light to light. So today, it's not Saturday night, it's Sunday morning, so I get to say it, Happy Easter. And then I get to say the single greatest thing that a church can say on Easter. I think it's maybe the most profound thing, it's probably the best thing, I don't know if we say it, but it's the single greatest thing a church can say on Easter. Here it is. See you next week. Same time, same spot. What are you going to do? We're going to celebrate Easter. Let me pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. And this day is special because it's on a calendar and we're people who need reminders, but it's also just like every day because you are risen. Not past tense. You are risen in our lives. And now I'm hearing it. The music just came on. You can hear music. It's playing behind me right now. That's what it is. The circumstances, the rooms of our life maybe don't change all that much, but all of a sudden the music is invited. That you are the great elevator in our life, that you put a soundtrack to our steps. And for someone in here today, they've been waiting for that soundtrack for a bit. But when you just show up and expect a big moment, expect a pageant-worthy moment, that's not what's on offer, and we wouldn't want that. That doesn't last. That's a cheer at the Super Bowl that we don't remember the winner of 6 years later. No, what we get is Sunday, and then Monday, and then Tuesday, and then Wednesday, and then eternity. And progressively, as we walk in pain and sorrow, we get to be always rejoicing because you are making all things new. There's this scene where Jesus walks out the tomb, and one of the first women who stumble upon him thinks he's the gardener. And she's right and she's wrong. That gardener is not just the gardener, it's Jesus, but she's right in that a gardener brings things to life. And so I pray for this church, I pray for this people, I pray for these families, I pray for this community, that things will be brought to life by you and in you, that you're the great steward of life, the author and perfecter of faith, the Alpha and Omega, the King. Not some distant king, but one who comes and walks among us and then says, hey, you want to be healed? You want to be well? Do you want flourishing? Oh, I kind of have a market on that. I'll give it away freely. Here's the thing. He comes with adoption papers, and he's filled out his part. And it's like, do you want to be the kid of the king? He signed his name in blood. You can sign yours. And if none of this makes sense, that's okay. That's why we walk it out together. It takes time. It takes connection. It takes unity. The greatest of these is love. Love doesn't happen an hour a week. Love happens hour and hour and hour and hour. Love is on the lips of a mother saying, of course I'll be back for you. We always come back. So I pray that's true for us today, that someone will boomerang back to faith today, that someone else will walk into faith for the first time, that we will be invigorated, that we'll be captivated by the great light that shines. It shone yesterday, it shines today, it will shine tomorrow. Let us walk home in it. Let us love in it, and let us bring people along to it. In Jesus' name, amen.